Good morning and welcome to week 12. We are working on putting the essay together this week, and we are going to edit it, run it through Criterion, and then turn in that final draft. So the first thing I want to go over with you is this handout on putting the essay together. We've been working on this essay a bit at a time, and I want to make sure I remind everybody what needs to be in this paper when we look at it as a whole. I am encouraging everyone to put these in a word processing document so that you can, first of all, save it, and then also format it according to the MLA format rules. So as you're doing that, you can be copying and pasting the things that you did in Blackboard. You can access those through the gradebook if you need to. And put them together into a Word document and organize them. Now, if you're working in Google Docs, that's totally fine, but I need you to remember to save it as a Word document or as a PDF. Sometimes saving your work as a PDF actually saves your formatting better than translating it to a Word document. So if you're working in Google Documents, that option to save it as a PDF is perfectly fine. All right. So a list of the paragraphs in the order they should appear. Your thesis paragraph obviously is first, then your close reading paragraph number 1 and close reading paragraph number 2. Remember, the close readings are where you use the short story to prove your thesis about the short story, okay? As you're doing those close readings, double check that you have not used all of your quotes from the one little tiny piece of the story. Those close readings should represent the whole story, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I know some of you need to revise for that a little bit. And revising may happen this week. Biography source paragraph, cultural context source paragraph, and historical context source paragraph. Now, these paragraphs may be rearranged to fit the flow of your essay's content. You're in charge of organizing the materials in a way that makes sense for your argument, but they should come after your close reading. Your reading of the text should come first. Please remember that these are source paragraphs. That means you need to tell me the source of this biographical information, quote it, and cite it. Some of you are just like, I'm just going to learn from this source and tell my reader about it in my own words. And that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to introduce the source, like I was reading about Alice Walker on the FemBio website. And this is what I learned about her life. And then quote it and provide in-text citations, which should be paragraph numbers in all 3 of these. And then provide a works cited list entry. So these paragraphs are going to have your works cited entry for the PDF that we used, and that's in the handout. These 3 will have a citation at the end for each of these 3 websites. You're also going to have in-text citations after every sentence that contains a quote. All right, then you're going to have your literary criticism paragraphs, and you'll get feedback on those this week as well, and then you'll have your concluding paragraph. Remember that for all of this, there is a sample essay for you to take a look at. We also have handouts on how to use sources appropriately. So make sure you're using your handouts as you put this together, especially that sample essay. Make sure that you've read that, read it aloud, and are really using it as a model. All right. It says, please compile these as a word processing document and format the essay according to MLA formatting rules. See this week's handout. Word is preferred. If you use Google Docs or Pages, please make sure to save your work as a Word file. Again, you can also do a PDF. All right, so I'm going to close that. There is some help with transitions. As we start putting things together, we need to start thinking about transitional phrases for our topic sentences. So I've put in a link here for just a list to remind you of some transitional phrases that exist that you might have forgotten about. It's always good to have a little word bank, and that's really what this is a word bank. There is a video here on successful revising and editing. Please take a look at that. I'm going to go over this MLA format handout. And again, I've put your sample essay here as well, just to remind you that you have a model to go by, and it's a good one. All right, so in looking at MLA format, the one thing that you do not have to have, you do not have to have any of these things because Blackboard provides these things. But this tells you that it should be in Times New Roman font, double spaced, and remember, please, when you're double spacing, select the text you're trying to space and go up to your toolbar and find the line and paragraph spacing in your toolbar and select either single spaced or double spaced. And that will do that for you. Please don't try to double space by hitting enter at the end of a line. It makes a huge, huge mess. All right, and then it should be double spaced. Indent the beginning of each new paragraph. This is something you can't do in Blackboard, so this is one of the reasons I'm having you do it in a Word document, in a word processing program. It should be 1 tab, 1 stroke of the tab key, or 1/2 inch. Generally speaking, if you don't mess with your format too much, the margins should be fine. It should be aligned on the left. Please don't mess with these. Definitely don't center it. That's definitely really weird. But choose this box for alignment for your text. That's what it is when you don't mess with it. So if you just leave the margins and alignment alone from when you open the text, it should be fine. All right. I'm not going to save that. All right. A sample essay is there for you to use. There is a video here about using Criterion effectively, and I wanted to talk to you about this week as well. Remember that you are working to have multiple submissions in Blackboard, reducing the number of errors in grammar, mechanics, and usage. And Criterion is not going to give you a score for this essay. Please don't email me and tell me in a panic that Criterion can't score your essay. I know that. It will not give a score to anything over 1,000 words, and this is a 9-paragraph essay. If it's under 1,000 words, you have some serious development problems. So yours is over 1,000 words. Criterion will not give you a score. However, it will give you the help you need in grammar, mechanics, and usage. I want you using that split screen. I want you using multiple submissions. I would suggest using 1 submission to try to address grammar issues, a 2nd submission to try to address usage issues, and a 3rd submission to try to address the mechanics issues, and then a 4th submission to take care of any of those that you were not able to correct the first time. Now, it's going to do things like tell you that your citations are fragments, your in-text citations. That's true. If you have put a period at the end of your quote and another one after your citation, you have created a fragment. The period simply goes at the end of the sentence, and the citation is part of the sentence. So make sure you're not putting double punctuation there, or you will be creating fragments. All right, so don't just dismiss it. If it tells you that you spelled the author's name incorrectly, check each time you've spelled the author's name that you have spelled it correctly. Don't just dismiss it. If it ends up that they really don't recognize the author's name and you've checked it that it is spelled correctly, that's not a problem. However, I have had students misspell Walker all the way through or Ellison all the way through, and because it was a name, they just dismissed Criterion, worrying about that for them. Criterion is excellent for worrying about things for you. Please pay attention to their worries. If they say you're missing a comma, you're missing a comma. And generally speaking, if they say there's something wrong with a sentence, there probably is. It might not be exactly what they say it is, but read that sentence out loud and see if there's a way to make that sentence clearer. But it's definitely correct in telling you your citations are fragments if you've put a period at the end of your quote and another one again at the end of your citation. So take a look for those. Now, I know there will be fragments in the works cited list. You do not have to put your works cited list through Criterion, although it may just be easier to put it in and then ignore it. since it should be in the same document as everything else. And then after you have used Criterion to edit, you will upload your final draft with the changes that you made using Criterion. Remember to export it out of Criterion or copy and paste it out of Criterion and back into Word after you've made those changes. And then give it one more edit after that, your own. So there's a way to edit independently that I'd like you to try, and that is by reading each sentence of your essay out loud, one at a time, going from your last sentence backwards through the essay to your first sentence. And what this does for you is that it offers you the chance to look at each sentence like a workbook page example, and most of us are pretty good with workbook pages, but we love what we've written so much that at this point we're a little blind to our own mistakes. And if we can take them out of order by going from last back toward first, we can tend to see our errors in it a little bit better. So after you've used Criterion, give it an independent edit, and then submit that final draft. I'm going to open this and make sure everything in it is correct. Please make sure you have used Criterion to reduce errors in grammar, mechanics, and usage. Please make sure your essay follows the model provided in the sample essay. It should follow the model of source use that we have been learning and practicing. It must provide at least 2 paragraphs of close reading. Use 1 cultural context source, 1 biographical source. This is incorrect. This is an earlier set of directions. 1 historical context source, and 2 literary criticism articles from Alabama Virtual Library or from the Lawson databases, but those should come from the literary databases. Please make sure your works cited list is your last page of the same document in this essay. Please do not upload your works cited list as a separate document. It should be in this document. Please review the MLA format handout and make sure the essay is formatted correctly. Please save your document as a Word document or a PDF and upload a copy of your argument essay with research here. And that is due on Sunday at midnight. You'll notice that Safe Assign is enabled. Make sure you check your report there before you turn things in. So I'm going to go ahead and unhide this, make everything visible to students, double check that everything is visible. Then I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to remind you of our help sessions that are available this week. This is a big week, and you might end up needing some additional help. So I have office times where I will be just sitting and waiting for people to come ask for help. Monday at noon, Tuesday, Thursday at noon, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m., and Friday at 9 a.m. I have had a couple of students email me on Wednesday nights at like 9 o'clock and say, hey, I was hoping to hop on Zoom with you. But remember, I've got a family to take care of. And Lawson actually expects me to put in all of my hours during the week, so this is just extra for y'all. I don't get paid for it. I don't get paid for that time. I do it because I really, really want to help you. But if you need the help, 8:30 is the time you need to be on. It's the most I can offer, and I am offering as much as I possibly can. Also, Friday at 9, if you're struggling, those are the times this week. I will be holding them all week. I'll also be responding to email. If you need to, you can call my Google Voice as well. Generally, again, that's during the day, and if the Google Voice rings at night, I just kind of silence that. Emails get through real quickly. I do my best to respond to emails as soon as I get them during the day, and even during some of the early evening hours at night, I'm very, very much dedicated to my family, so you may need to wait till the next morning. So do please make sure that you take care of your questions before the weekend. I would encourage you especially to check to make sure that you have Criterion access and that it's working before the end of the week, so that if you end up having a problem with Criterion, I'm available to help you. Please don't save that for the weekend. That should definitely not be saved for the weekend. Check that you can get into Criterion, that you see the essay you're supposed to work on, and that you have those questions answered before the weekend. All right, y'all, I really hope to see many of you in a help session this week. It's a big week. I want to be here to support you, but you've got to come to me. It's stalking if I come to you any more than I'm already doing. So I really hope to see you in help sessions this week, and I can't wait to read your essays all put together.